Hi, my name is Anthony, a.k.a. Vooch.
And I'm his wife, Angie.
And this is the Slow to Speak with Vooch podcast. At different times in our lives, we are faced with loss of different kinds, whether the loss of someone we love or something we hold dear to us. When supporting the griever, it is hard to know what to say or what to do. Well, I'm excited for this season on Slow to Speak with Vooch podcast. My wife, Angie, and I will be discussing some suggested etiquettes when supporting a griever.
Over the past 10 years, I have experienced so many losses, family and relative losses, friend losses, job losses, and health loss. Experiencing loss upon loss to me felt like a wave of water that just kept hitting my face to the point of leaving me breathless. In my experience with losses, I found that many were unaware of the proper etiquettes to use when supporting the grieving. So I was encouraged by a friend to write down my experiences. This led to family, friends, and me to write a book called Suggested Etiquettes for the Grieving. These suggestions are only a framework of ways to consider when supporting a person grieving any loss.
These following podcasts are going to be with the authors of the book, so please enjoy.
Because that's my habit. When I'm overwhelmed and I got a lot on my plate, I don't eat. And you may not know that about me, but that is what happens. You'll notice that I don't eat. But you're probably used to it. Because remember when I was in the hospital with my sister and they were operating on her, you brought food to me. You was like, eat. You got to eat. Because you know that's my habit. I won't eat. I can't eat.
Right. So what are some ways that people have helped you and other grievers that you know?
Like I said in the beginning, the church helped us with the meals. That was very helpful. We got meals for 2 weeks after my mother passed away. And I remember being back in Chicago having to clean my mom's house out, and somebody brought over food then. Although y'all ate it all up and I didn't get any, somebody brought over some food then. But
and we appreciated it.
Whatever. But the other people that I spoke to who were grieving,
that you can, because a lot of times you really don't see yourself going 100%.
And I know you're an artist yourself, so I mean, this is better fit for you in that sort of realm. You know, I really love this, but what does that actually look like?
But have you made any visuals to go with those recordings? Have you done anything that you could really have done with that time and made more out of it? Have you recorded the session?
Someone mowed their lawn without asking, which I know that is a big task. This is mostly for people who have the time to do it.
Right.
They picked up their children. There was another guy who had to go out of town to bury his mom, and someone shined his kids' shoes because they remember when they were at a funeral, that was one thing that was of their concern, and he saw that that's what they needed. The friends who let me stay at their home when I had to travel from where I was living to the town where all the funerals were, they drove me around. Like I said, Donna did it, Daisy did it, drove me around without me feeling like I inconvenienced them. And you read in the cars inundated with scriptures before letting me read them. I don't know if you was doing it so you didn't have to pay bail or you didn't want to be embarrassed by the way I was responding to these people giving my full vent of anger. But I just remember.
I had to screen them cards.
Because I remember there was a card from someone, and the first card that they sent me in my grieving mind, which is not my right mind. I was embittered, I was sad, I was in pain. The scriptures they used were very painful and very hurtful. And also, it hurt because I thought they knew me better than what they put in the card. So when they sent the second one, you had to read it. I saw you at the bottom of the bed reading a card, and I was like, what is he doing? And he was like, hold on, let me read this before you read it. I'll hold off in giving this to you. And I was like, okay, thank you. But now that I think back on it, I was just like, he probably didn't want me to choke somebody out, but that was just it.
Are there any other ways that you can suggest?
The only thing I can think of, again, going back to listening to the person, because I remember one of my friends I was speaking to about I'm his wife, Angie.
And this is the Slow to Speak with Booch podcast. At different times in our lives, we are faced with loss of different kinds, whether the loss of someone we love or something we hold dear to us. When supporting the griever, it is hard to know what to say or what to do. Well, I'm excited for this season on Slow to Speak with Booch podcast. My wife, Angie, and I will be discussing some suggested etiquettes when supporting a griever.
Over the past 10 years, I have experienced so many losses, family and relative losses, friend losses, job losses, and health loss. Experiencing loss upon loss to me felt like a wave of water that just kept hitting my face to the point of leaving me breathless. In my experience with losses, I found that many were unaware of the proper etiquettes to use when supporting the grieving. This book, she was telling me that a friend of hers lost her mother, and the person was in a lot of pain, and she did ask her, what do you need me to do for you? And sometimes people probably have an answer, and this one was very peculiar because she said, all I need you to do is make me some of those cookies that you make. She loved her cookies. And I thought that was really cool because she didn't try to pressure her to say, is there something else? I can do something bigger.
Right.
She just simply did it. But I was hoping with this book and this podcast and the website, we could come up with other ways to help someone when they lose a job and they lose a relationship, they lose all kinds. There are different kind of losses besides losing a person, because when you have a loss, you're in this mental state where you need a little bit more support, especially in the beginning. Some people, it gets prolonged because they don't feel comfortable talking about their loss. So I'm hoping that we can keep this dialogue going to find out other ways that can help, because this is just my way. This book is about my family and friends' ways, but other people have other needs.
Right. That's a good point. Now, in wrapping up this second etiquette, what would be your biggest takeaway you would want the reader to realize?
The biggest thing is to refrain from using that phrase, first of all, to make yourself feel better. Mm-hmm. You have to do this, as the scripture says, don't push yourself into the front. It says, don't push yourself in the front. The message scripture is just perfect. And don't obsess with getting your own advantage. Just forget yourself long enough. It's exactly what the scripture is saying, to lend a hand. I'm hoping that people would understand that phrase comes off like this scripture is saying. You're putting yourself in front. You're just sweet talking your way to the top because you're saying, I am thinking about you by asking you, let me know what you need to do. That's like sweet talking to me.
Right.
And you're not really putting yourself to the side. You're putting yourself in front of that person's need because you're feeling uncomfortable and you don't want to really come up with an ideal. You don't want to do something. I understand that awkward feeling like I don't want to say something or do something that's going to offend them. But that's not the time to have that feeling. It's like praying about it, asking other people who have have losses in the past, it's just a very hard thing to do. And like I said with my sister, I did not know what to do. And it's not trying to avoid them either.
Right. That's a very good point. Because, I mean, like I said, you can go two ways with that. You know, either you really don't know what to do. You know, you're in a situation, you're stuck, and you really just don't know how to help. But most of the time when people say that, like I said, I know for myself, as I gave that example, you're just trying to say, I'm thinking of you. Let me know, get back in touch with me, and then I will help out. You're not really considering that other person, really.
Here's the thing. Supporting a griever is not a sprint. It's a long distance, not a marathon.
Right.
Task, because eventually the griever can get to the point of not needing the grieving support. The thing is that I speak mostly to the Christian community in this chapter, but this is for anyone because Christian is based on love.
Right.
And expressing love. And mainly the goal for this chapter is to start a dialogue of ways to be less tactful or in helping the griever, or let me say it differently. It's more about helping the person experiencing any kind of loss without excusing yourself with this phrase. That's
Right.
the biggest takeaway I wish people will understand.
Awesome. Well, our next chapter, we'll be looking at part 1, etiquette 3, be the Bible, don't quote the Bible. And we'll be joined by one of your good friends and also the book's editor, Keisha Stacy.
Yes. This is going to be one of those chapters where it gets a little bit more deeper into the Christian community again.
All right. Awesome. All right. Until next time.
Deuces.
Deuces. We're out.
Please remember to allow anyone grieving to process their grief so that it does not lead to improper release. This book and these podcasts are only to get the conversation started on etiquettes to use when supporting anyone grieving a loss.
If you are attending a church or a congregation of believers, please continue to discuss other ways to partner with God to serve a grieving person and this grieving society. Let's represent God in this matter.
Let's display to the world a loving God, not a punitive God in this time of grieving.